Hey everybody out there, welcome back to my channel. This is Rob here at Sparking Gun Reviews, back after a long hiatus. I feel like I haven't been around almost the entire year. I took a break in January to take care of myself, and then I came back stronger than ever, and then I lost my internet for what feels like forever. I lost it at the end of February. I had it for exactly 8 hours on the first Friday that Falcon and the Winter Soldier premiered, and I have not had internet since. And so now that I have internet back, I'm feeling kind of ah. All right, but in all seriousness, yes, we are here to finally talk about Robert Kirkman's Invincible Season 1 on Amazon. A long time ago, we were talking about what I was looking forward to most coming up. And there were three things, I believe. There was Snowpiercer, the Why the Last Man series, and Invincible. And I was so excited to finally talk about Invincible. Snowpiercer, while it does have Daveed Diggs and Jennifer Connelly, I don't really like that show. I love the movie. I don't really like the show. It's way too procedural. Why the Last Man has not come out. But Invincible has arrived. And I'd planned on doing an episode to episode review, but then the internet went down. And at the same time that Falcon and the Winter Soldier was coming out, the only Marvel thing that I shouldn't say the only Marvel thing. I'm excited for all the Marvel shows, but Falcon and the Winter Soldier, I was the most excited for. So, of course, the two things that I want to review the most, I can't even talk about until now. I haven't even finished watching Falcon and the Winter Soldier. But because I cancel all my apps, because why spend money on streaming services you can't watch? But I kept Amazon because of the free shipping. Because I was ordering crap without having internet. It's dangerous. It's dangerous out there when you don't have internet, and all I had was the internet on my phone. So I ended up buying a lot of shit on Amazon because I buy crap when I'm bored. That's one of my flaws. It's one of the reasons why I have a bunch of Marvel stuff over here right now. But so I'm not going to talk about every single episode. We're just going to give kind of a short review on what I thought of Invincible Season 1. I'm a big fan. I've not finished the series of books, though. I stopped when I realized how far behind I was. So I got like the first two omnibuses. And as you can see from like this picture here, you've got, the guy that makes the cyber guys. Wow. It's 7:08 in the morning here, so you're gonna have to forgive me on some of these things. You got robot or the guy, the alien guy from the end of the episode, played by Seth Rogen. You've got the Immortal on the back here. So I'm not gonna keep showing you all that because it's hard for me to talk right now at 7 in the morning for some reason. So, does Invincible, is it worth watching? And what's it about? If you don't know what Invincible is about, might as well tell you. But if you already know, you're just going to hear a synopsis. So, Invincible is based off the comic book by Robert Kirkman, the creator of The Walking Dead, who, and I love this comic, but it's still not, to me, as good as The Walking Dead. If you love it more, that's fine. It's your thing. I dig this book a lot, though. And one day I'll finish it. But it's about Mark Grayson, who is the son of a superhero, the Superman, if you will, of this world. And he's been waiting to come into his own, to get his powers. And when he finally does, it's his arc over the course of this series. But the first season's him really figuring things, starting to figure things out. How to be a superhero. Does he want to be a superhero? How do you juggle your life and be a superhero? How do you live up to your dad's standards? How do you hide your secret identity? How do you have relationships? All those things. Plus, having this show has a bunch of B stories going on with a bunch of different characters, varying in interesting to not interesting to god awful to great. And this show also jumps around a lot from the comic book. Some things in this series from the book are pulled forward, like that something that takes place way down the line in the series is pushed ahead. Some things are drawn out longer than they are in the books. Some things are so accurate. And that's one of the things. This show is really accurate to the books, and the things that they add are, I think, necessary to do a full series. And plus, when you're the creator, there's probably things that you wanted to do that you didn't do that you can finally do when you have a show. And so, for the most part, especially as far as accuracy, this show really nails it. It really nails it. So for a lot of comic book fans, even if some of your storylines are feeling a little more rushed, they're still in here. And I think one of the biggest things, and I'm going to try to stay away from spoilers, but in the very first episode, right, we got to kind of talk about it. An event happens, and we'll talk more about it as the video goes on, but an event happens that does not happen in the book right away, but they get right to it, which kind of leads me to believe that this is going to be probably maybe a 3 or 4 season show. This is probably not going to be like The Walking Dead that's gone on for a really, really long time. A lot longer, not long enough for some, too long for others. But I think that this feels like they're going to try, because animation, it's a long process. And so I think that by what they did by the end of the first episode was to kind of say, we're getting to it. We're going to give you a pretty tight story. It'll probably only take like 3 or 4 seasons to tell. Maybe 5. Oh boy, here comes a train. All right, nothing kills momentum quite like a train or, some sudden background noise. So, yeah, see, there goes the train of thought, literally because of a train going by. So yeah, we were talking about how long the show was going to last. But I think that's not always a bad thing. Like, unlike, like, say, The Expanse that Amazon picked up after season 3. And everybody was so excited because Amazon they could now be free to do all the books. And now we find out that it's ending prematurely. Or put on hiatus until characters age up or something. I don't know. But I think that they're going to do a good job here. I feel like this is going to be a really good job here. And a lot of it has to do with every single aspect, really. The animation, I wasn't sure. Honestly. I saw the trailer, I thought it looked alright. But I'm not always a big fan of the style that's been prevalent in a lot of today's animation. But it really, really works here. They did a really good job of making Ryan Ottley's work translate to this show. Ryan Ottley is a great artist, fantastic artist. He was most recently, I would say, he was pretty decent on Amazing Spider-Man. He wasn't in it enough for me. They kind of sold that book on Ryan Ottley and Nick Spencer coming to this book, and then it just kind of, Ryan Ottley came in for a minute, and I would have loved to seen his take on more of Amazing Spider-Man, but we're not here to talk about Amazing Spider-Man. But his art, I mean, in this can be mundane, right? You can just show the kind of mundane stuff, right? But still look good. But then it also can be really, really, really interesting. You can have these great fighting moments that you have in here, and his style is really, really unique. They have he can be suddenly explosive on the page in these mundane scenes. Something else to remember about this show is that it's pretty much PG-13 for the most of it. There is, foul language, which is fine by me. People generally talk the way people talk. I feel like Rexplosion actually talks more like a regular person, and he's one of my least favorite characters, but he actually, swears and talks and just kind of lets himself be free. And I've noticed a lot these days, people are becoming less and less afraid of just talking how they want to talk. Most of these people kind of when it's the dialogue of the story, it's great. But a lot of the dialogue in this, especially with some of the every bit. Okay, I shouldn't even sugarcoat it. The relationship stuff in here between Mark and his girlfriend is so cringe. I If you like it, I always say like what you like. But for me, the dialogue in this goes from really good, and when it's talking about the actual plot, to it suddenly shifts in tone and cringe when Mark is with his best friend or with his girlfriend. It's like people trying to sound like what teenagers sound like, and it's just cringy as fuck to me. I can't. I was laughing out loud and going, "Come on, this is so stupid." And then it would just be awesome again. So the only thing for me about consistency in tone and dialogue is the stuff that's the one of the major things that didn't work for me was Mark's relationships with his friends and his girlfriend. I thought that they were the worst aspects of this show, and that's not a dig on any of the actors, which we should get to. The voice acting talent in this is amazing. I am floored by all the great actors that they have in here. I mean, we have to start with Stephen Yeun, who's Glenn from The Walking Dead, and who I was trying to champion for a second to get him to be the lead character in Kirkman's newest comic book, Firepower. I think that he would be great as the main character in that. He's good. He's really good here. The one thing, and this isn't about the actor, again, it's the translation between the show and the comic. In the comic book, I like Mark Grayson a lot. I like him a lot. He's relatable, and I just dig him from beginning. I like Mark Grayson. I like the character of Mark Grayson in the show differently because I don't really like him very much in this first season. The translation from page to screen, maybe it's got to do with I hear a voice in my head when I'm reading and I hear a voice on the screen when he's talking, and it's different than the voice in my head. But he, to me, is a much more realistic teenager on the show than in the book. I don't know if that's even the best way to explain it. But I don't like him because he's a typical teenager. He's a bit of a little bitch. And look, I'm not saying all teenagers are like this, but if you get to our age, right, and you can look back and be honest with yourself, there were probably plenty of times when you were a little prick, and Mark, even though, like I said, the relationship stuff gets really cringy, he is. I just didn't like him very much at the beginning. By the end, there's a full arc. He grows on me. Now, when I say I didn't like him very much, that doesn't mean that I didn't like the character. It just means I didn't like him very much. As a person, as a character, I really liked him because he felt real. Now, his best friend and his girlfriend, uh, I did not really care for their characters because of the way they were written, not because of the way they were performed. And I should probably grab my list of actors on here, because while I remember most of them, some of them I'm going to have a hard time with them. I'm just going to grab something real quick. All right, yeah, I just needed to grab the cast list that I had. So the best friend and Zazie Beetz, the best friend played by Andrew Rannells, who I really liked on Girls. And Zazie Beetz, who is amazing actress from Atlanta and Deadpool 2. I really dig her a lot. Unfortunately, what I don't dig is the dialogue for these characters and the way that they're portrayed. I think it's great that his best friend's gay. I think that it's a nice choice that Zazie Beetz is character that's directly from the comics, and both characters directly from the comics. I I just, even in the comic book, I wasn't that big of fans of the relationship story. And it's, again, not the actor's fault or the character's fault. It's the only part that didn't work for me. And I'm not one of those guys who just needs the punching and the violence and the action sequences. I just, I just feel like maybe it's one of the less strong suits of the writers, both Kirkman from the comic and the people who write the show. It's not a diss, man. Not a diss. Not everybody can write for teenagers, man. I also feel like the teenagers in this, a lot of them are the what people wish their teenagers were like, working in soup kitchens and feeling all earnest and super wanting to be helpful to humanity and all that. And I'm like, what teenagers are really like that? How many are there? We all want to believe that, your kids are the best in the world, but really, even Adam Eve, who played by Jillian Jacobs, again from Community and movies like Choke, she's great in this. But again, she's so earnest, and maybe I would like to believe that actually women are, and especially like young women, like when they're coming up of age and they're trying to figure out their lives. I remember my sister being like way more into things and wanting to be a more part of the world than I did. So, I mean, it is kind of true, but it's just, I don't know. I just felt like be a little more selfish because that's what a lot of teenagers are, man. We're just just a changing group of a level of narcissism that we all have. Um, Talking more about the actors though, J.K. Simmons. I didn't know he was in this until I turned it on. And he is such a perfect choice to be Omni Man. I can't even with J.K. Simmons. He is such a phenomenal actor. Everybody loves him as J. Jonah Jameson, but I love him. I also love him from like movies like Whiplash and that show Counterpart. He brings something to the table in every single thing he's in, and being the Superman of this show and the degrees of what this character is and about, and that he just you can you almost see J.K. Simmons in the animation to me. Other people that are really stand out to also is Walton Goggins as Cecil. I think I never would have thought him for Cecil, but I think in the end he's a great choice. Walton Goggins is another actor that has changed a lot and actually taken a lot of risks in his career. That started out to me as he was just gonna be that kind of the guy from the Shield or like the redneck kind of character from like Django Unchained, but he's done a lot, and I really like where this actor is going, and he's just another great character in this. Now, an understated one and one that could kind of go unnoticed, and I'm really good with voices, was Sandra Oh as Mark's mom. Now, I didn't recognize her voice, but I like what she did here as just sounding like there's nothing that really stands out in her voice, but it's still the you can see the actor's performance in her voice because her character goes through a lot of emotional turmoil dealing with what goes on in over the course of this first season. She I'm trying to still avoid spoilers here, but for people who haven't seen the whole thing, but for being a mom character, she really gets to do a lot, and you feel acting behind just a voice performance from her. Um, One Jason Mantzoukas as Rex Explosion. I didn't like him in the book, and so I think he's a perfect actor to play this brash asshole because I think he kind of plays that a lot. The guy who you kind of want to have shut up. That's nothing against the actor. I actually really enjoy that actor. He's good at playing that kind of part. Um, who else do we got here? I said this was going to be a short video, and now I'm like, holy crap. Oh, Mark Hamill, of course, as the guy who makes the costumes, is great. He gets a really. There's a moment near the end of the season that he has, a couple of them, that are really emotional and really intense and really kind of scary and sad. And I really loved what he got to do here so far in this show. He has a really kind of important arc as well. Seth Rogen is the alien. I can't remember that guy's name from the book. Of course, he throws himself in here because he's, one of the producers. Again, Seth Rogen and Evan Goldberg are killing it with their production company and the things that they've been choosing to do, like Preacher. Oh, man, keep going, guys. Keep going with this cool comic book stuff. Another standout is Zachary Quinto. Zachary Quinto as Robot is amazing. It's the perfect voice. I didn't really have a voice for him when I was reading the comic book, but he is the perfect voice for Robot. What I didn't like is what they kind of did where they rushed this character's storyline a little bit to get to where he went. I would have liked to have had more Quinto because without spoiling anything, he, the voice actor changes. And I really miss Quinto's Robot quite a bit. That's how strong his performance was. And the character of Robot is one of my favorites from the book as well. And they did a fantastic job with his arc of kind of being this like leader, but not knowing if he's really on the right side of things until you find out the whole arc and where it's really going on. They do a really good job with his arc in this. Kevin Michael Richardson as frickin' the clone boys, the clone twins are, I think they're the Mahler twins. He has been in the voice acting business for a really long time. And this is probably now my favorite performance of his as a guy in his clone, but not knowing which one is the clone purposely. The characters are built in with not knowing which one is the which, so they always have this kind of back and forth and kind of rivalry with each other. And they're both really smart. And while their design is very simple, what's what I like is kind of like the Hulk. The Hulk is kind of just a simple looking character, but it's what's going on underneath all that that makes him interesting. And I really like what they did here because I like them more on the show than I do in the book for some reason. Again, little changes, little translation differences that can make a lot of ways that I've felt, so I can enjoy the book and the show on different degrees. Who else do we got here? Carrie Payton. That's something we need to talk about too briefly. Is Carrie Payton is not the and you got Stephen Yeun as that's Glenn on Walking Dead. You got Carrie Payton who's Ezekiel. In the first episode, the whole Guardians of the Globe are played by people that were on The Walking Dead or are on The Walking Dead. I thought that was amazing. You had like Sonequa Martin Green. You had Michael Cudlitz. You have I'm trying to remember all these actors' names now. That Russ Marquand is in there. Lenny James, who plays Morgan. Chad Coleman, who was Tyrese. Yeah, of course, Sonequa Martin Green was Sasha. Ross Marquand is Aaron. Lauren Cohen is Maggie. She is in here. I mean, they really bring it, and I think one of the greatest reasons that I love that they had most of the cast of The Walking Dead, especially in the first episode, was what they did with it. It makes such sense. It makes so much sense to like have characters from a show where everybody, you know what happens to people on The Walking Dead, right? Okay, I'm not going to spell it out for you. So I'm still really trying not to. I'm trying to avoid spoiling things. But you also have Clancy Brown, another standout in this as Dark Blood, like the Hellboyish character. I thought he was fantastic, and actually, I wanted so much more of him. I would watch a show just about this guy, but maybe that's just my desire to see more Hellboy. I don't know. But Clancy Brown again as another great voice talent as like Byron from Shawshank Redemption is burned into my memory, but the guy is so much more than that. And again, he brings an amazing performance to a character that is just so good. Another one, okay, and this one, if you don't look it up, you wouldn't even know it, right? But I picked it up right away, is John Hamm, who is like basically my man crush, okay? Straight as an arrow, but John Hamm, he'd come get it. And his voice is really interesting and stands out. And he has a little bit of an arc. And I will spoil this because his character is a father who works at the White House as like security. And he's got this, they talk about it like right at the beginning of the show about this kind of bad relationship he had with his, I think it's his stepson, who has been like had problems with substance abuse and stuff like that. And how he's trying to help this son, and I thought, and grow, get a better relationship with this kid that's not his, but thinks of as his. You know, he's his son, whether it's his blood or not. And I thought at first that they were just putting this guy in here and giving us this emotional beat so they could just kill him, because that's what the scene felt like. Was he was going to be give us this big emotional speech and then get mercilessly killed, but he doesn't, and he shows up again. And I thought that they were doing this thing, and maybe they still are. Maybe this is a long, like, payoff thing. But I felt like the relationship with John Hamm's father character and this kid who he loves and but had problems with was kind of a nice correlation to what Mark and Nolan go through in this kind of opposite thing of both about fathers and sons. And there could still be some way that they pay that off, because it really felt somewhat like you really need to pay attention. It's something to really put in the back of your mind. Because why would you have John Hamm come in just for this kind of throwaway thing? I don't think they would, but maybe they did. But maybe I'm reading too much into it. But I'm telling everybody, remember that character, and see if they don't call it back, because I think it's important. Even if it's just a scene where Mark meets the guy and they have a conversation together about fathers and sons and stuff like that. Or maybe Nolan meets him. Maybe Nolan almost kills him. Ooh. We're getting like really close to having to talk about spoilers. I mean, and even you're like other people in this. Mahershala Ali is in this. Chris Diamantopoulos, who I love on Silicon Valley. Ezra Miller is in this. Mae Whitman is in this. Let's go. Jeffrey Donovan. Jeffrey friggin' Donovan, who I didn't like at first as an actor, but I've really grown to like him a lot. Djimon Hansu. Who doesn't love him? Who doesn't love him? Like I said, Michael Dorn's in this. Justin Roiland from Rick and Morty is in this. And you can tell, if you've watched Rick and Morty or Solar Opposites, which the second season of that is on Hulu right now. And if you haven't watched Solar Opposites, fuck you. Go watch it right now. You can always tell Justin Roiland's voice. Reginald Vell Johnson. Al Powell from Die Hard is in this. Fred, of course, veteran Fred Tachachori, I can never say his name, is also in this, amongst others. I've gone on just about the voice cast on this because it is so amazing and great to hear all these voices of talented, not just actors, but really giving some voice actors, people that mainly do that, a really big chance on this show. And that is one of the strongest elements of this show, besides the animation. Also, one of the great things is, yes, this thing is covered in blood. So when this show is just being a regular superhero show, it's great, but it does not pull punches when it comes to the violence, which is another thing a lot of people love, as much as I do, as well as like when people get killed, when people get punched, the regular ass human characters, well, we don't fare too well. And it's glorious and it's violence and blood, and I love it. It's such a nice correlation. It's this like weird stark difference to it, almost in tone, that could bother some people. They're like, oh, I really like this show, but man, did they really have to make that guy's head explode? Yes, they really did. I think that's what makes it different. It's kind of riding this balance of fun Marvel mixed with dark Watchmen kind of violence, like reality, like the reality of what when somebody gets punched by Superman, what's it really like? So now that we've talked about that, I do have to again talk about the couple other things that I didn't like. One was, like I said, the dialogue and the relationship stuff between Mark and his friends and his girlfriend. I really could have done without that story. In fact, it felt like the Mark's girlfriend story goes on for way too long, because in the books, it ends. Spoilers, okay? And I was glad when it did, because it just felt like they were, I mean, I think it's necessary for the character to go through this arc. I just wish they had gotten to it a little bit quicker and let the character move on faster, but they got Zazie Beetz, so they want to make this character more important, which is fine. I just didn't personally care for it, but that's a minor grudge, just a minor little thing that I don't like. And the other thing that kind of has to do with it, because a lot of times it's in these scenes, but like in a lot of scenes, is the music. Now, I think that this show's score, the actual score for the show, is fantastic. And in fact, if they had only used a score for the most part, I would have loved the music in this. But unfortunately, like The Walking Dead in the last couple of seasons has been using music all of a sudden, it just kind of feels like it just takes me out of it. The music in this takes me the hell out of it. I got really annoyed by not just the music but the choices in music. I just didn't care for any of it. That's personal taste, just personal taste. I don't. But here's the thing: I wouldn't have liked it, and I'm being honest here. Even if they use songs I like, because there's a song that they play at the very end of the season that I like, but I didn't like. I was like, man, I want to hear this song. I just don't want to hear it on the show. I don't want to hear that. I want to. It just. I don't know. The music just bugged me. But that's again a minor gripe amongst a huge amount of amazing stuff. Because this show is a home run on every other level for me. I again, I had to adjust my way of thinking because of how they were shifting stories, dragging some out, pulling some forward, putting some stuff off, and as long as once I got like used to that pretty quickly, I was able to enjoy this really, really, really a lot. And I, and the thing that sucked was always having to watch it on a tablet and stuff because I'd have to, since I didn't have internet, and I just still had Amazon, I had to take my tablet to where there was a Wi-Fi signal to download it off of somewhere. So I would go to Walmart and be standing in an aisle trying to download a couple of episodes at a time so that I could watch it. But it's hard sitting at home where I would put it. I would put my tablet. I'd either watch it while I was donating plasma, sitting in a chair going like this for an hour, making sure that I'm getting things, getting my plasma out, or I would come home and put it on my little book stand and just sit it here and sit back and watch it on a little tablet that's not very big. Now that I have it, I can watch it on this. I'm gonna rewatch the whole thing on a nice bigger screen because watching the last two episodes on this was way much better than watching it on a tablet. Okay, and so now we're gonna have to talk about some spoilers. So if you haven't seen it, well, you've made it 31 minutes in. I didn't think I was gonna talk this long. We're gonna talk about a few spoilers. So yes, from here on out. So I was really surprised at the end of the first episode that they moved the Omni Man reveal as not the Superman that they all thought. He doesn't see himself as a villain, like all great villains don't, right? Not all of them, but really good villains, we're all the heroes of our own story, right? And Omni Man's no different. And he feels what he's doing is right. And what he does is kill all the Guardians of the Globe, the Justice League of this world. And it is so brutal. But it doesn't happen in the comic book that soon. And that was the first clue to me that they were on a tight schedule, that they wanted to get to things. Because I don't think this show was going to be like a 6, 7, 8 year show. I think it's going to be more like 4 or 5. If that. Could even be 3 if they really push it. But I thought that reveal in this, for anybody who didn't know the show, or the comic, I mean, what a shock that must have been. First I got a train, now I got people calling my name. I haven't recorded in a while, so I guess they're not used to me being down here when they can't hear my voice or something. So now I've lost my train of thought again. Okay, so yeah, the whole turn of Nolan is quite a surprise for a lot of people, but it's amazing how they handle it here. And I think I even like it more here because once the reveal is out in the show, it gets to more like what happens at the end of the season a lot quicker. And instead, it's drawn out and as a lot longer. And you get to have the more of the investigation that's going on and who knows and who doesn't know. And if they do know, why aren't they doing anything about it? And Mark not finding out about things. And his dad, kind of trying to train him to do what he's, going to have to want him to do later. Which is that, yes, he's from this other planet. If you've seen this, you know what I'm talking about. He's a Viltrumite, and they are world conquerors. They go and they conquer worlds and bring them under their fold. And they're very warlike, and they do not put up with weakness. And one of the things that I didn't like about the character ever, this character, and a lot of things, is the characters that are just so powerful that it just feels hopeless. And that's what he is. And he comes from a world where they're all like that. It's my only gripe one of the only gripes I have really with the book too. I have a few. This is one of them. We're getting to them all basically. is that kind of character that just is just unstoppable, and even thinking about anybody going up against him, even when they bring back the Immortal, I'm like, what's the point? You know, what's the point? It's all just like nobody can stop this guy. Um, but I love how he took out the Guardians of the Globe. Is a really, really smack in the face for the audience who doesn't know the comic, the level that they're going with here. Other really cool storylines is like the Cybermen storyline. I like that a lot. I like that that pays off later. The robot arc, okay, because he's just such a strong and heroic character, and then suddenly they have this reveal where it's like he might not be a good guy. But then you have to wait to find out that he had his reasons for doing all these things. And it makes sense because a robot might think like this. And artificial intelligence probably would think this is the reasonable way to go about something. And it's basically him wanting to find out that he's actually a guy who has robot, like mechanical suits that he controls. He's just this like guy in a tank. And he's just looking for a new body. His arc is fantastic. It coincides with the Mahler twins, which I really like their plans all the time, always trying to uh, like start some stuff. They're like twin Lex Luthers, but like super strong too. Um, the new Guardians of the Globe characters are kind of to me. I'm not that interested in them, especially Rex Explosion. But like I said, I didn't like him much in the books. I like Monster Girl. But Duplicate didn't really get much to do, and neither does Carrie Payton's character, who was like powerless. They're kind of just background. They need more superheroes, and hopefully in season 2 we'll get more fleshed out characters. Like they'll flesh out these characters a bit more. Sandra, like I said, Sandra Oh's mom character is so fantastic. Of once she finds out, like when she starts suspecting what Nolan's been up to, and really pulling back that thread. She gets a lot to go through. Now, again, I also talked about Cecil's Walton Goggins, who I love is the shady government man. He's like the Nick Fury of this world. He is so great as just being this guy who is capable of anything, good or bad, to make sure that the world is safe. And his whole thing in there, he's one of those characters where you never know if he's going to live or die or not. And he always seems to be able to even, he has no powers, but he's a threat. Even Nolan, I think, has to by the end kind of respect that this guy keeps kind of stopping me from killing him. He's always got a plan. Um, and so going into the end of this, Mark goes through this whole, am I good enough? I keep screwing up. We haven't really talked about the titular character played by Steven Yeun, but he goes through what a lot of characters go through in comic books, their origin stories and how they get to where they want to be. And that's maybe one of the least interesting things, is just a story that you've kind of seen before. And like I said, I didn't really like the character for a long while until he got to the end, until he started having things really revealed, have to face real consequences of, it's time to choose, it's time to stand up. And again, seen that a lot. Seen that, been there and done that. But what the character goes through does make sense, and it pays off. And I do really like the character now. He grew. He had his time to try to figure things out. And he's still learning. So there's still more to like, and as this character grows even more. And so, I mean, the whole face-off, like, there was never a moment in my mind, though, where I thought, Invincible's going to go with Omni Man. Not for a second. We all knew that in the end, this kid is better than his father. But J.K. Simmons' balance to that of just absolute, when it just comes out that this is what I am and this is why I do it. He is like Thanos. He does not waver in that, except for a second, which keeps him from, killing every single person like he could on the whole planet. It's trying to remember that little nugget of humanity that kind of infected him in his time on Earth, and keeps him from killing Mark and blowing up the whole planet probably and leaving. I know I haven't talked about all the little ins and outs because I'm not doing an episode to episode thing, and I've already talked for almost 40 minutes. But if you haven't seen Invincible, if you've made it here and you didn't care about spoilers, but I think that's all I'm going to say about this incredible show that you should check out if you've skipped ahead and gotten to here. So If you like this review, please hit the like button, comment, share, subscribe, hit the bell for all notifications. Let's get to 2,000 subscribers this year, and we will be back. I'm going to be talking more about Handmaid's Tale. I am going to be releasing more of my Agents of Shield reviews pretty soon, and you can probably see me on other people's channels talking about like other things that are coming up as well. Uh, Look forward to doing more things, but right now I'm kind of easing my way back in. You know, if you want to follow me on Twitch, I'm at Smirking Gun Plays. We're playing a lot of PS5 and PS4 games. So have a great day. Thanks for listening, and we'll be back with more stuff later. Have a great day. Take care of yourselves. Bye.